really during a pandemic, most of us are in long distance friendships right now. My best friend, who is the maid of honor in my wedding, we've been friends since we were fourth grade. And we lived most of our lives apart. She moved many states away, and I like to joke that she destroyed my life when she left, but she did. She really did it. And it's the reason why our friendship is going strong 17 years later is because she was extremely understanding of how I wanted to communicate, which was sometimes via letter, sometimes email, or sometimes in college, I got too busy and dropped off our friendship and was absent for a while, but she never held that against me. So I think the key to long distance friendship is really acceptance and understanding.
We have this segment of our book where we talk about the difference between communicating in a plant metaphor, which I love, and there are cactus friends. Jenn and I both identify as cactus friends. So we're the kind of friend that doesn't need to be watered every day. In fact, if you water us every day, our roots might shrivel up and die because it's a little bit much. And then there's an orchid friend, and orchids need tender care. They need misting, but they reward you with these beautiful blooms. It's a wonderful relationship. And then, every now and again, you have a philodendron friend who can just kind of exist anywhere and in any circumstances. One of my very close friends is just like that. I think that when you identify exactly how much you want from a friend, it is much easier to have a long distance relationship. I get Zoom call fatigue. I love playing various online games with my friends, but even that takes energy, especially now in the age of COVID. So being aware of the energy take and being aware of each other's personalities and needs, it's really important.
Another issue that I think a lot of friends we struggle with is giving each other advice. What are the hows and whens of that?
This is tricky. Yeah, because I don't think anyone enjoys receiving unsolicited advice, especially if it's really delivered in a very overbearing or overstepping way. Advice is a tricky thing to introduce into a friendship.
So if my friends come to me with their problems, which I love when they do because that's a wonderful part of friendship, I always make sure to ask, are you venting or are you looking for advice? Because I can do either. Or if you want, do you want to just yell together for a little while? I can just be mad at the person you're mad at. Like, let's go. And then that's a way to lead into advice. And then it's always, you're an adult. Do you know more about this topic than this friend does? Do you have something significant to share that they might not have thought of? So don't go to them with the first 3 Google results when you Googled their problem. Go to them with your own unique perspective because that's what they came to you for.
One of my closest friends is a teacher. Another one of my friends is a doctor. And when they vent about work, it would be a little silly of me to try to offer my advice without explicit permission, because I don't work in either of those fields. All I can do is offer my perspective, but I like to ask permission first. Like Trin said, I like to say, is this something that you want my specific perspective on? Or I ask, what have you tried? What's working? What do you think you should do next? Because they probably know what to do.
That's a great question. What, should I weigh in or you want me to listen? I love that. Finally, the big one. When it comes to a friendship that just is not working, it is not good for your life, this is what we call toxic friends, how do you break up with that person?
So at the very get-go, we want to be clear that if somebody is abusive and harmful to you, you have every ounce of our permission to just get out of there. You can ghost. Really. Yeah. Some people are so unkind that they don't deserve a goodbye. And it's very rare, certainly. It's not every day that this happens. But also having the conversation of, I want to sit down and have a formal breakup with you is incredibly awkward, and it's not always productive. People will say things like, oh, I wish you would just tell me to my face. But do you really? That conversation would be really, really difficult. So breaking up with friends can be on a huge spectrum, from cutting and running to let's sit down and talk about this friendship and can we fix this? Because maybe I feel like we can't. Start with questions. Start with some specific things that maybe they could change. But again, if they're abusive or harmful, bounce.
And there's a lot of shades of toxicity, We always like to say that everyone is capable of making mistakes and everyone is capable of being a good friend and a bad friend, sometimes in the same day. But what we also say that if you have a friend that is taking up so much of your energy, that you dread hearing from them, that you're worried more than you're happy to be around them, that's a pretty bad sign.
Yeah, you don't want a friend that's like your part-time job that you hate.